Just got back from riding the best trails ever, guys. I mean, I was shredding. Oh, I can't wait to see the video on this one. Oh God, I'm so stoked. Oh, this is gonna be epic, guys. Let's see the video. What the f? Alright guys, so we've been there before. We got our action camera on, we're shredding the trails, we're hitting the best lines, and we got hero dirt. And we're so stoked to see our footage on the GoPro, and just to find out when we get home, plug it into the computer, and it's total crap. So I made this video to share what I experienced or what I learned in the past year, trying to make my mountain biking videos better. So I hope you guys will learn a lot from this video and help your videos transform from this into this. So I'm going to break it down into 4 sections. The first one is video stabilization. The second one is finding the right mount or point of view for your camera. The third one is we're going to go deep into the GoPro settings that I'm using currently. And the fourth one will be the post-production or post-processing or video editing that I'll probably make a separate video so I can kind of show you guys how I do it in my software, which is the DaVinci Resolve 15. Okay, let's get on it. So we're gonna talk about video stabilization first, and you don't want your viewers to watch your video and become nauseated because they're too shaky. And there's a lot of YouTubers before that use the mechanical gimbal on their rides, like the Evo SS or the Zhiyun, I think, Feutech gimbal. It's like a 3-axis gimbal that stabilizes your video. But I know a lot of people now are kind of transitioning or kind of favoring more the digital stabilization that the newer cameras have, like the GoPro Hero 7 Black, because it's just a simpler setup and there's less parts, less stuff that you have to wear and you have to bring with you with the on your ride. And I also think that the digital stabilization has been slowly improving through the years, being almost as good as a gimbal. So in my videos right now, I'm using the GoPro Hero 7 Black Hyper Smooth Stabilization, and it works pretty well. So one thing I like about the Hero 7 Black stabilization is it's not as smooth, that it kind of dumbed down the trail compared to other gimbals, or maybe some people use like a mechanical and digital stabilization, like a GoPro 7 and a gimbal combination, which kind of like, you know, when you're moving around, it doesn't really make the viewers feel what you do compared to, let's say, just a simple, just a Hero 7 on a chest mount that, you know, when you move around on your bike, the viewers can kind of feel like, you know, how you move and how the trail is. Now, if you already have a good action camera that can shoot 4K and 24 FPS, or maybe 2K to up to 60 FPS, you can definitely just buy a gimbal and use your camera. For example, like, you know, the Hero 4 Black and a gimbal combination is very popular on a lot of the mountain biking YouTubers. I think a lot of them still use that combination until now, because the Hero 4 has like really great audio. So you're already set with that you know, setup. On the other hand, if you don't have a camera yet and you're thinking, you know, should I buy a camera with digital stabilization or just an old camera with a gimbal, I would suggest that you'll just get the newer camera with better stabilization, like a Hero 7 Black or maybe the new Hero 8 that's coming out soon, just because it's a simpler setup. Like I said, there's less moving parts, less stuff to maintain, and I think the stabilization itself, it's already pretty good for most of the riders out there. So once you figure out your stabilization, the next thing you're going to think about is where to put the camera on your body. So there's really 2 major point of view mounts right now in the YouTube community for mountain bikers, and that is number 1, the chin mount, where they put the GoPro or whatever action camera they have on the chin bar of the full face helmet, and also the good old chest mount. I have a full face helmet right here, and what they basically do is attach this GoPro on the chin bar using zip ties, glue, Velcro, or whatever. Some people modify their chin bar to attach the GoPro there. You can be creative, whatever works to make it secure. What's great about this mount is obviously you can't use a gimbal, but your head acts like a gimbal, because whatever movement you go on the bike, you go lean left, right, or lean back, or get low on position, chest low, your head and your eyes are still looking forward. So the video is still gonna be like towards the horizon. It's not gonna move around. It's gonna be it's gonna be smoother than the chest mount for sure. And the point of view is actually low enough that it can capture your movement in the bike and part of the probably the handlebar, and you can see some of the actions going on there. So now for the chest mount, this is a lot simpler for me, and this is what I use when I ride, just because I don't have to wear a full face helmet all the time, number one. And also I don't use a gimbal, so I just use a Hero 7 Black to attach it to the chest strap, and it's a lower point of view than the chin mount, so obviously it's gonna look a lot better when you're doing your action on the bike, and the viewers will see the action and reaction of the bike towards the trail, and it's gonna look a lot better, kind of like a time warp effect when you go super fast on those trails. So a couple of tips: when you attach the GoPro into the chest mount, make sure it's angled up all the way, as high as you can, just because when you go into attack position, you go low, the trails get gnarlier, and your chest will dip. And usually a lot of the new YouTubers out there will have the camera pointing just on the front tire when they're going out the gnarlier trails, just because they don't angle up their GoPro. And also make sure the straps are super tight on your chest, just because even with the hyper smooth stabilization, when you go around those rock gardens, the chest strap, if they're kind of loose, it might bounce up and down and make your videos a little bit more shaky than usual. So some people, when they use the simple GoPro chest strap, they use the inverted video setting on the GoPro, just because when they attach the GoPro to the chest mount, it's too close to the chest mount that really you can't really angle it up that much, maybe just this much, and you can't really see. You could probably just point the camera down on your front tire when you're doing gnarly stuff. So what they usually do is they just invert the GoPro and then put the setting as inverted video on the GoPro, and then just attach it inverted, and then now they have the angle to raise the angle up so they can have better video. But what I use is a different GoPro chest mount. It's called a Stuntman chest mount. I bought it online for about like 30 bucks. What it does is two things that I like about this thing is, the first one, if you guys watch my video on my Auburn ride, I kind of washed out my front tire, did a Superman crash, and landed on my chest. So the GoPro kind of hit my ribs, and it hurt for a month. After that, I found this chest mount, and I think if I had this chest mount, I wouldn't have that much damage on my ribs, just because this is kind of like a hard-ish, kind of softish plastic. It's a little bit flexible, but it's pretty thick. It's solid, and it kind of protects your chest, for any damages that the GoPro might do when you slam your chest into the ground. And also, one of the most important things, of course, in the making your videos better is getting that good angle up from the chest mount. As you can see, so probably like this big of a space compared to the regular GoPro chest mount is probably just kind of like here, very small. So what that does is, if you attach it right here, you can basically angle this up all the way up, and you don't have to do the inverted video thing on your GoPro video setting, which is cool. So yeah, worth it. It's about 30 bucks. It's cheap, but it'll probably last forever. Now let's dive into the trickier part of the equation. This is the action camera settings, or in this case, I'm using a GoPro Hero 7, so this is going to be the GoPro settings that I use to make my videos look a lot better than it was before. Alright, so when you first turn on your GoPro, you'll see the setting button on the bottom of the screen. You can click that, and then you'll see the basic video settings. You can go to resolution. So I usually just go for the highest resolution, 4K. It'll use up more battery life, but I always carry 3 or 4 extra batteries on my longer rides. And on the FPS, I decided to just use 24 FPS primarily, just because it just looks a lot better when you're going fast on the trails, and it's a lot easier to edit. I just use my laptop to edit, and if I record in higher FPS, let's say 30 or 60, especially on 60, the video just slows down to a crawl, and it's just a pain in the ass when I'm editing. It's just, you know, it's just super slow when I play it back during post-processing. So yeah, 4K, 24 FPS all the way. For the field of view, Super View is the widest and the best, I think, for riding trails and, you know, doing any action stuff. It'll capture your handlebar and part of your top tube, and also wide enough to capture most of stuff in your field of view. It does have a fisheye effect, so if you're stationary or off my bike, I'm trying to just, you know, film my buddies, do some stupid stuff, or get a selfie. You know, it's best to change it to the wide view to get rid of that fisheye effect. So low light settings, I usually just turn it off, and I don't really plan on using this camera to do any you know, night riding videos, but I know for a fact that the Hero 7 sucks at low light, and I've tried filming at night before, and it's just horrible. There's too much noise and you can't get anything captured, so just leave it at, you know, off. Stabilization is easy, of course. Turn it on to get kick-ass footage, turn it off to get vertigo when you watch your video. So now for the main event, we're going to make sure the Pro Tune is on to open up a whole bunch of customizable settings. When I first got this GoPro, Pro Tune is turned off, and you use it right away in any action video, sports or whatnot. You know, your video is going to be garbage. So turn it on, por favor, and let's delve into the deets. I usually just leave the shutter in auto because I don't want to mess with that thing. So EV comp, or exposure compensation, you can now manually set this exposure or overall brightness of the video. So when I ride, it's usually daytime, bright and warm outside, so the sun is shining in the Californian summer. So you'd want to underexpose like 99% of the time, especially if you ride through a forest or there's like trees everywhere and there's hundreds of scattered sunlight patches breaking through the shade. You want your video to have lower brightness because in that high contrast area, you don't want the bright spots or bright parts blinding the viewer, or kind of just killing your video. So I set my EV comp to -1. Alright, for the white balance, basically the higher the number, the warmer your video will be. I usually just keep it on 5000K. It's actually a pretty warm setting, so if you don't want to correct the temperature or the video, or you don't want any editing software to do all that, you know, temperature grade, whatever, keeping it in 5000K will be a good choice to reflect what you're actually seeing in a bright sunny day with minimal clouds. So if it's overcast, you can change it to up to 65K or 6500K. And you can also lower the white balance if you want, for those rides where it's just too warm out and you see red everywhere. Maybe like in Moab or something. So if you like to edit the temp of the video, you can also leave it on native. So that's going to be like a least processing for the temperature of the video, and then you can just do it after the fact on your editing software on the computer. So you can go, just go all the way down, auto. Here we go, native. Yeah, you can just put it on native if you want. And then just do all the temperature, the white balance correcting on your editing software. So I got ISO min and max. This basically controls the low light sensitivity of the camera. In lower light, you can increase the max, to get a brighter footage, obviously, but with the downside of added noise. So since we usually ride during the daytime with great weather and sunshine, most of the time, I like to go low on the ISO to minimize any noise. So I'd set up mine at 100 min, and actually I like to set up mine on 400. There we go. All right, so just to minimize the noise, set it on 400 and call it perfect. This one time, really, I had to adjust the ISO way back when I rode in Oahu, where I think I started riding around 6 p.m. and it got dark pretty fast in the forest, and I think I went up to like 1600 ISO max, and then you can see there's a lot of noise, but the video was still bright enough to be okay compared to how the trail actually looked like. So for sharpness, it really depends on if you use an editing software that controls sharpness. When I started making videos, I just use iMovie, a free video editing software on most Apple devices, and it really doesn't have sharpness control. So I have to make my sharpness on medium back then. Typically, you want to be able to control the sharpness of the video depending on where you ride, and also what the environment looks like. If there's a lot of trees and leaves very close to the trail, if you put your sharpness too high, sometimes it makes it look weird and make it look like it's too edited. For me, I set it to low, and I just add more sharpness later on my software until it looks perfect. All right, so on to the color. So you got two options here, flat and GoPro color. I think the past versions of the GoPro color setting has been like super high contrast and oversaturated. That is just it's a terrible idea to keep it on that setting if you're shooting action sports, specifically mountain biking, where you're going through the trees, the trails, and different environment. I've tried to go the GoPro color setting on this thing in a Hero 7 Black, and it's pretty good actually. And if you don't plan to do any color correction, or maybe if you just want to post like simple videos, short videos, that you can just use GoPro color and it's gonna be okay. But it's a big but. Setting to flat is way better. Since you can color correct on your editing software and really dial in the saturation, the contrast, and all that. Depending again, it all depends on the situation. It all depends on the trail, really. What the weather is, what the lighting is. So are you riding in an open space trail with just rocks around you and miles of open view, or you're deep within a forest? Mid-noon, where the sun is like on top of you and there's like rays of bright light scattered between the shades. So that's the reason why most of the settings we like on the action cameras, are the ones that allow us to post-process and really dial in how we actually see the trail. So just set it to flat and then add color correction, add saturation later. So set it to flat like your Enduro Bros pedals. Raw audio, I just keep it off. If you turn it on, it's gonna add a separate audio file that you can use later in your audio editing. So I don't really do much audio editing. I just tweak the volume sometimes on my video. So I just turn it to off, I guess. Yes, turn it to off. I don't know why it's on low. So mics, this is very important. So again, we want the camera to capture the video, audio in its natural state. Limit the processing of the camera. So I tried to use wind before. So it's stereo or wind auto. Okay, so I tried to use wind before because I thought, I don't have a wind slayer. It's pretty windy outside, and it turned out to be really bad. Whenever I talk, there's like an echo. It's like a weird audio processing thing. So the best part is just keep it on stereo and just buy like a wind slayer or a foam to attach it to your mic to block the wind noise. And that's gonna be perfect. So after watching this video, you got your GoPro settings dialed, you went for a ride, and you got this epic footage in your GoPro camera. Now it's time to do video editing. So I'm currently using the DaVinci Resolve 15 editing software, and I absolutely love it. You can totally download it online for free, and it's a powerful software, and it took me some time to learn the basics. But make sure you stay tuned for part 2 of this video. In that video, I'm going to show you how I edit my videos using the DaVinci Resolve 15 and getting that raw footage that we got using the settings that we've talked about in this video and make it into the final product. So as always, guys, please like the video, subscribe to my channel for more mountain biking video content, and also share this video to your buddies if you want to improve their mountain biking footage. By subscribing to my channel and sharing my videos, that will enable me to make more videos like these. So see you guys in part 2.